And we are live. Welcome, everybody. My name is Rodney Davis. I am the founder and CEO of Teach Life Skills. And I want to welcome you to this live broadcast, which we hope to be doing every week. And wish everybody upfront from the top Happy New Happy New Year. All right. I've been told that you can say that until the end of the month. So I hope I'm correct with that one. Um, Yeah, this is a continuing conversation from what we've had the last 2 weeks, where we delved into the entire topic of, fighting burnout and so on. The premise for Teach Life Skills is we have this aspirational mantra that we took on that we want to help 1 million teachers to turn their salary into a side hustle, right? Let me be very clear. This is an aspirational thing. I'm very serious about it, but that doesn't mean that I've done it. And but I feel very strongly after having studied the online course industry for over 15 years that now is the time, and teachers are very well placed to take advantage of some of the things that are happening in the online course space right now, right? It's changing and morphing and transforming rapidly. And I think that I'm very excited about the possibilities for teachers. And so, I just wanted to say that upfront that we do aspire to assist teachers with replacing their income. Well, let's talk briefly about who this is for, right? Um, there's a lot of people who want to leave teaching, okay, and what I've been picking up over the last months or so is that the pathway to this seems to be enter the online course industry through the corporate pathway, right? So the idea is um, take your skills that have to do with instructional design and take that to the corporate world. All right. If you're interested in leaving teaching, sure, definitely you can pick up some things from following our broadcast because we're going to be delving deeply into a lot of things that run parallel to those people as well. But the people that I have in mind that I want to help the most is the mission oriented teachers who are not really sure they want to give up teaching or they don't want to do it at all. And but the idea of having options uh, a month, a couple of months, or a few years from now is very attractive to them. And that's my tribe, right? Those are the people I'm trying to I'm aspiring to work with. Okay, so um, and the other thing I want to disclose is, of course, I have had I've been in the classroom for about 4 or 5 years, and that happens way back around, I'm dating myself here, but around the turn of the century. And to be honest, I approached the entire education after having left a job where I was pretty close to burnout. So um, I had some challenges and with my former employer, of course, because they had some financial challenges that they couldn't get over. And at the time, I had to pay. I was still had to pay my mortgage, and the salary wasn't secure. And along with that, I found myself really dealing with a lot of stress that came not only from that situation, but also from dealing with the day-to-day dealing with clients at a drug rehab. And so when I left the job, I had no idea what my next job was going to be, but I was pretty close to burnout and realized that for my mental health, I had to step away. All right. The funny thing is that when I came into teaching, I had already I had sought and gotten the help that I thought I needed to manage the stress and to reach a place of inner calm. But I immediately began noticing some of the same symptoms in my colleagues, and so from way back then, I told myself that if I ever had the chance to work with teachers, I would do so. And so that's where the aspirational thing came from, because um, again, I think working with teachers is my wheelhouse. Okay, so but of course, the part that I'm trying to disclose here is that I'm still on my upward climb towards that. I'm retired now. I have a little more time to spend with it. But while I was working in the school system, by no means have I been successful in replacing my income or even turning my income into a side hustle. But I feel like very strongly that I can assist teachers to do so. Um, and the things that are going to be happening with my business is basically running parallel to what other people are going to be doing as well. So the invitation is for you to join me and watch me as I climb that steep hill, so to speak. All right, there's a lot of very exciting things going on that I really want to uh, to get teachers to understand and to assist wherever I can. So I have a few announcements at the end of this brief uh, broadcast here about what we're going to be doing over the ensuing months. Okay, but the continuing conversation, or the conversation is continuing from what we started uh, just about 2 weeks ago, and we even had we had a broadcast last week, and we had some technical problems, and so I'm afraid that even though we did the broadcast, the recording was done, but it didn't really go live, and so we wanted to circle back and finish what we started last week. Okay. Um, I want to first, before we continue, if you see me glancing down, is because I've prepared some notes, because I don't want to be rambling. This show is intended to eventually become a question and answer type series. But of course, as we are still growing our audience and finding our followers, we expect that of course, we won't have any questions from anybody. I have some questions that I've been getting from teachers that I've been working with personally, and we'll get into those in the next coming weeks. But until then, I'm going to be um, presenting information and also dealing with some of the issues that I know that are very important to teachers as we move back into the new year. All right. At the end of this show today, we're going to be making an announcement about a workshop that we're having on Saturday. And we would like as many of you to sign up for that as possible. If you have any interest in the how, because we've been dealing with the what and the why, but we'll go deeper into the how of dealing with everyday stress and approaching burnout and so on, because this is something that I had to deal with twice, right? First, as I said, when I entered the profession, and then over the years, it kind of sneaked back in. My old habits were coming back with accepting too many things on my plate and dealing with overwhelm. And so, you know, I came very close to it again, I think just before the pandemic. And so I do have some experience working with that. But um, know for sure that, that's not going to be the topic that we're going to be dealing with. The topic is about um, dealing with trying to assist teachers with securing that substantial side income. And the pathway that I've chosen is online courses. But even that we have to be very careful with, because I think that the very meaning of an online course is morphing before our very eyes because of AI. And so a lot of how the online course industry looked a year ago is different from how it looks now. And it's going to be much different with all the things that are coming down the pipeline with Google and all of the different uh, large learning models. And so These things are going to transition us into making the online course industry take on an entirely new look. But I think that teachers are very well positioned to take advantage of some of the weaknesses that I see, the blaring weaknesses that I see in the industry. And I'm going to be browsing over some of that as we continue today as well. Okay. Um, the part that where we left off last week, and we said of course, that it had to do with burnout. But we promised you that we were going to transition into what I'm going to call the empowered entrepreneur. And at a very high level, what we want to talk about is about what it takes in 2026 to monetize your pedagogic skills. All right. Very exciting topic. I'm jumping at the bit to jump in. And I'm for those of you who are seeing this from the replay, and also for anybody who is with us live, um, we are, again, because we want this to become a question and answer series. Uh, we are very interested in any question that you might have about me personally, about the Teach Life Skills company, or about what's going on in the industry and what your prospects are for replacing or for turning your teacher's salary into a side hustle. I'm very serious about this, again, but I want to make announce upfront that, of course, this is aspirational. It's a journey I want to take myself, and I'm inviting teachers to come along with me and watch what I do, and as I continue with this journey. Okay. Okay. So let's transition to the fact that last week we were talking about the internal GPS, and basically what that was dealing with just raising your level of awareness, your level of self-awareness around your internal signals, to stop the bleeding of burn and sidestepping the path towards burning out, because a lot of what we talked about was, you know, teachers already know, in my opinion, what their issues are. But what happens on the day to day is we keep sweeping them under the rug because there's not a clear path to dealing with it. And this leaves us with a very constant rising level of stress. All right, so we talked about that in last week, and even though it didn't really go live, I took the recording and we put it on the channel. So we're going to be linking you to that as well, um, along with the replay. Okay, so you can check that out. Um, and so what I'm going to be talking about today is the transition from, you know, managing the stress that leads to burnout and transitioning that to as an internal mental space of, having internal stability. And we think this is an important thing to do because um, if you're talking about income diversification and your plate is already full, of course, taking on something else is not really a good idea because, you know, if your plate is already full, the obvious thing is all you're going to do is to add more stress to it. So there's this inside job that has to happen with managing what you're dealing with right now so that you're nowhere close to even being at risk for burnout. And again, I want to mention that we have an assessment, a rudimentary assessment we want you to take to surface these things that you might have been sweeping under the rug, so that we can talk about them and ask any questions that you have when you get this on the replay. Okay. Um, Again, the goal is of course reaching that level of calm, and that is a stepping stone to reaching a higher place where you're not only calm, but you have options, um, options that all feel good. Okay. Uh, the thing that I get from my own experience, and I get the same thing from teachers, is without the problems being dealt with, there is a constant but steady feeling of helplessness. And if again, if it's not taken care of, we fall by the wayside very quickly, and the burnout risk is there. Okay. So we cannot begin thinking or talking about income diversification if this is not dealt with first. So, I've been spending a couple of weeks talking about this, and we're going to transition in January to the topic of income diversification and exactly what's going on with the online course industry. But I feel very strongly that way because we've been hearing a lot about the burnout risk, that we should be dealing with it first. And then if we have enough content to deal with it, we can transition to what we really want to talk about. Okay, so let's continue. Um, I'm gonna put on a presentation that I've presented here. But listen, I don't want I don't want to distract myself. I don't want to distract you as well. So the presentation might appear a little bit small. Don't worry about it. Um, because again, if you express if you just comment that you want to have it downloaded, we will send the presentation to you. But I wanted us to keep our focus on what I have to say while we're making the presentation. So the presentation is going to be yours along with the replay. Okay. Let me see here. I want to advance this to my second slide. And for some reason, it doesn't want to advance. Always something with technical things. Okay, here we go. I think I have it now. Here we go. So we're going to go on from the internal GPS that we are asking teachers to. That's how we want you to think of it, right? That you already know what your things are. Everybody has their own triggers. Everybody knows what triggers them. Um, do not keep sweeping these things under the rug. Take the assessment, take a look at them, and then set aside some quiet time for yourself and decide what you're going to do about it. Come up with a strategy, all right? And of course, on Saturday we're going to have the burnout prevention workshop. Sign up for that. We're going to give you a link at the end of this broadcast. Okay, that's where we want you to start, because there can be no income diversification if you're not reaching this place of inner calm and taking care of your mental health first. Okay, I know that not everybody is there, but for the few of you who are, it's an utmost necessity that you do that. All right. Today's focus is, of course, moving from internal stability to external income diversification, and goal um, of reaching that inner place of calm. As I said up top, is not possible without taking care of your inner self. Okay. Um, I feel very strongly that let me put it this way: the shifting landscape that we see both in the online course industry and in education itself should tell you, and I don't want to delve too much into this part of it, but there are also some things happening in in the geopolitical area that are having a big impact on education in general. All right. We see it most in the US, But as everybody knows, what happens in the U.S., there's a saying that when the U.S. sneezes, the rest of us catch a cold, right? And so we see the movements in the geopolitical arena that happen that are influencing how we look at education and even how we define it, right? And so some of these things might be disconcerting or appear to be disconcerting, but at the same time, there are opportunities presenting themselves that you need to be aware of, right? And so getting to that inner calm and then looking at income diversification and taking care of yourself and giving yourself options, to me, to my mind, is no longer a nice to have. It is an absolute necessity, because education is changing both online and offline. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about before we move on. The fuel, as you're seeing here from the slide that I have, um, started, of course, with harnessing your intrinsic motivation. All right, this is something that we all know, going into a classroom, that if we can do it for our students, it makes learning easier. All right, but we have to be goal oriented and driven to improve without depending on external validation or you know support from external quarters. The external trap, of course, is burnout. Often happens when we focus on the things that we can't control, and the lack of resources that is very chronic in the education space uh, tends to contribute to low morale. Okay, I already talked about my own story, you know, and I didn't finish it in the sense that, after dealing with the whole burnout issue and looking at what was going on with teachers, I made up my mind that I was never going to approach that again. And as I said, it did happen, or I came close to it, so somewhere around 2019, 2020, right, just before the pandemic. But before that, and even after that, I did reach a place where I had built myself a substantial side hustle. The Doing salsa, I became a salsa instructor on the side, and even though I can't say it replaced my full-time job salary, it didn't even come close. I was able to build it up, and I still continue with it to this day. All right, so this would not have been possible if I had continued with the same things about taking on too much and not taking care of my, not paying attention to my emotional state. So again, I urge you to be with us on Saturday as we delve deeper into the how of doing this. Um, let's transition to our next slide, and I apologize for not making it any bigger. Well, actually, I don't want it to be any bigger because I don't want it to be too much of a distraction. I want anybody reading the slide while we're we're doing the presentation. As even myself, having a slide to work with sometimes distracts me, and hopefully I can have questions from you guys next week, so that we can um, so that we can actually, I'm trying to advance the slide, and for some reason it's not going. And okay, give me a minute. Let me see if I can troubleshoot this. Yeah, it's much better to have questions. I do much better if people ask me questions and I just look straight at the camera and answer the questions instead of having a slide prepared, especially when you're not very used to the software, as you can see here. All right. Okay, so um, I'm just going to talk without messing around with the slides because I do know what's on them and I have some notes here as well. So let's continue with that. Um, what we were dealing with is with the after you've set a goal of what you want to do to take care of your inner self, and you've brought that under control. Before you move on, in my opinion, you have to you have to understand that this is not something that is a switch that you turn on and off, right? You have to develop a practice where you're constantly monitoring yourself. You have to have a routine where you're constantly looking at where your attention is going and making sure that some of that attention is going into taking care of self. Okay. Teachers are notorious for just putting everything aside about themselves and just focusing on their students. And then at the end of the day, they go home and take things with them. All right. So again, you cannot be thinking about adding something to all of this, because it's just going to create bigger problems. Um, let's talk briefly about some of the how. We don't want to, again, because we're going to do the workshop. Um, let's talk briefly about managing your work environment, right? What I call the contagion factor, right? 4 emotional states directly impact students, right? They impact the students' cortisol levels and also they impact your own energy. And we feel that, again, because we were talking 2 weeks ago about emotional intelligence, social skills are the backbone of setting clear professional boundaries and the art of saying no to things that drain you. Okay. Um, we talked briefly about why teachers take on so much. Um, sometimes it's just a matter of avoiding feeling guilty for not, there's so many things to do in a school that when management says there's this, and this, and some people feel guilty not volunteering for some of these things. All right. And so there's this constant tug and pull that sometimes happen because we feel that there's some pressure to take on extracurricular things. All right. And so there's a balance that has to be struck there. I think that coming to work in a jovial and approachable mood attracts students, attracts peers, and it saves energy that you need for everything, including a side hustle. So you have to make sure that even though you have to volunteer for things, you must know where your limits are, and you make sure that if you're taking time to look after your own aspirations, your own inner space of calm, um, whenever you see that you're not paying attention to that, if you're monitoring and you see that you're neglecting it, then you know you have to pull back a little bit. All right. So you have to develop this practice where you're constantly checking in. All right, because things change so rapidly in schools. And from one week to the next, you think you're okay, and then the next thing you know, some things are happening. And then, you know, I've seen it happen so many times where everybody's good, and then for some reason a series of events happen in the school, And before long, what we see is there's a cascade of things, and then the next thing you know, everybody's stressed out, right? So you just because you're good today doesn't mean you're going to be good next week. So you have to keep monitoring it. Okay. Um, the fourth slide, and again, you're going to get this along with the replay. We wanted to transition into bridging the pedagogy gap, right? Because this is where we think that there's some things missing in the online course industry that we want teachers to take care of, right? Um, so once you've taken care of those things, and the transition is about um, taking stock of what's going on outside of the school, but still having to do with education, right? The online course industry is right now being monopolized by influencers, right? And there's a big flaw there that I want to bring to teachers' attention, right? The big name gurus are marketing masters, but they lack what teachers have. They lack instructional design skills, right? And this leads to what you in the classroom would call low student completion rates. Now, I want you to listen to this. The completion rates in the online course industry is 5 to 15%. Okay? And it is widely accepted that this is normal. Teachers would consider this a dismal failure, right? I feel that one of the biggest reasons for this is because even though online influencers are good at marketing, they lack skills in instructional design, and so they don't get their students who pay sometimes a great deal of money to complete these courses. Okay. Now, in addition to that, what's going on coming down the pipeline with the AI that is changing the very face and definition of what an online course industry is going to be looking like in the next 5 years. I think that the online course industry is ripe for teachers to walk in and take it over. Okay, because you are the ones with the skills that the students that are taking these courses need, that they're going to be walking away from. The people who are offering these courses, the influencers, are going to be noticing a decline as the AI takes over. If you look at what's happening coming in the pipeline from Google, um, a lot of these online courses are nothing more than what I call information dumps. And with the click of a mouse, a lot of the information that are in some of these courses, people will no longer have to pay, I don't know, $500, $1,000, $2,000 for a course. One little click on something like Notebook LM, and you could get something similar. All right, so how you go about crafting a course and the value of a course will no longer be just the information. A lot of it will be coaching people to completion, the instructional design, and the things that teachers put into their work to make sure that their students get the outcome that they need. This is totally lacking, in my opinion, in the online course industry. And this is where I think teachers need to join me in coming to take a look at that. Right. Again, I'm not going to go too deeply into this part, but we know that teachers know about frameworks like ADDIE and, the whole thing about scaffolding and differentiation. Those things are very often lacking, right? So a person might put together a course and it's logically good. Even the scaffolding is built in, but there's no monitoring to make sure that people acquire the skills or the knowledge that they need to before they go to the next step. It's just an information dump. And I'm saying um, um, we need teachers in the online course space in order to correct this problem. And as people move away from what is being offered because of what's happening with AI, um, there's a demand for teachers to bring their instructional design skills, their scaffolding skills, and everything else that they know from their pedagogy into the online course space. That is my main message for today. All right, so it's an invitation to join me as we explore the space and see how we can play a bigger role. And I think that that is the pathway to diversifying your income and monetizing your pedagogic skills. All right, so I'm not going to spend too much time going further into it since the presentation is not cooperating with me, but that is the gist of it, right? Um, I want to quickly, because we're beginning to run out of time. Let me see if I can find some of the assets that I had for. Okay, here we go. If I can. Okay, so I've just put it on the screen. The QR code is you follow that and you can take the rudimentary burnout assessment that we have there. And this weekend is probably going to be the last time we deal with this in a live broadcast, because in January my intention was really to start talking about the transition, go deep into the transition. So after the workshop on Saturday, um, we want to start talking about how you pick your course topics, right? What are you going to be teaching, right? Because the online course industry doesn't deal with the subjects that you teach children in school, right? That's not where the $3 billion industry is, right? You're mostly going to be teaching adults, right? And you're mostly going to be dealing with instructional design for corporations and so on that have to educate their own people, right? So that is where, as I said, the path is, and what will be with what forms a course is not going to be just an information dump. We're going to go into how you have to basically build a library of stuff, and then you're going to build a community. And so the marketing is going to be a lot different from what you see now happening with influencers in the online course space. All right, so we're going to talk a lot more about those things beginning next week. But I really want us to you guys to come and take a look at before you take the burnout assessment that you see there with the QR code. Make sure that you're logged into Google in whatever device you're using, because that's where you're going to get the results. And the follow through also is going to depend on you um, putting your email address into the results that you're going to get from Google. So um, that's for that. Okay, so at the end of that process, you should get an invitation to the burnout workshop on Saturday. Right. So once again, um, if you're seeing the QR code, make sure you get a hold of that. We're also going to put it, of course, if you're seeing this in the replay, you should also see it in the comment section below. All right. Um, a couple of announcements before we sign off. This broadcast is being simulcast to several different social media platforms. The main one that we're paying attention to is YouTube. Okay, even though the same thing is going to be happening in LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. going forward, we're going to be monitoring the comment section in YouTube, and of course, as I get somebody to help me, we're going to be asking some help with Facebook and Instagram as well. But for right now, the focus is on YouTube. So if you even if you get the invite from LinkedIn, but when you come back next week, I'd like to ask you to sign in with YouTube instead, because that's what we're focusing on. Okay. I'm not in a position to see questions right now. Until next week, we'll be able to do that. Um, and I'm going to get better with this stuff as we go on as well. So let me just check quickly to see if we did have questions or comments. I don't see any. And the software is informing me that we can post comments to some destinations. We know that already. I think LinkedIn doesn't allow comments. So even if you come back next week and you're using, we might be able to get somebody to help us monitor Instagram and Facebook, but not LinkedIn. Okay, I'm going to be making sure that I keep an eye on YouTube. Okay, so I know that this is not the best, and hang with us. We have a lot coming down the pipeline. I'm very excited about the possibility for teachers, and I want to continue working with you. We're going to build a community, and we're going to have a lot of information, and we're going to have a lot of resources that we're going to make available to you for free, right? Starting with a website. Right now, we have a practice website that I've been practicing on for the last, I don't know, 10 years. That's not the website that we're going to be doing our training from. We're going to be building that from scratch, and we're going to ask you to come along with us and watch what we do, because we'd like you to do the same thing. All right. So you're going to see all my mistakes. You're going to see all my my bloopers and everything, and everything that I learn. I'm going to make sure that we have it available. We don't intend to have too many things paid for in the beginning. And I intend to keep most of my things free as we continue. And I think I'm only going to be charging basically for coaching, right? So any information I have, any course I have, we're going to make sure that we have it online for free. And paid tiers would have to do with community and so on. But we're reaching that point in history where information is free. That's what the AI is doing. And so online education and so on is no longer about information dumps and 5 to 15% completion rates. Okay, so lots of things that I want to share with you guys. Bear with us. And without any further ado, I want to sign off. Happy New Year, everybody. Make sure, again, if you're listening to this on replay, the QR code is there. Go and take your assessment. Send in your email address and sign up for the workshop. It's in 2 days. All right. So I think it's early in the morning, late in the morning, 11 o'clock, and it's only 2 hours. Okay, but we're gonna go deep into the how of burnout prevention. All right, and this is something that even if you are not at risk, you will want to have to assist your colleagues, and for you to keep your current state of not having being at risk at bay. All right, so again, happy new year, all the best, and we will see you next week.